This is a story about the Klondike Gold Rush and most notably the old town of Dawson City, Yukon. I managed to gather a pile of old photographs that were taken back when the rush was on, so this whole video is just going to be a story and a bunch of pictures. This is going to be a fairly long video also, so if there are any photographs after the story is finished, I'll put them all into a slideshow like some of the other videos I've done. The Klondike Gold Rush was probably one of the most famous in the world. Almost everyone worldwide has at least heard about this great gold rush, and many more have read some bits and pieces of it. The Klondike Gold Rush is also one of the largest and longest running in recent history. In fact, the Dawson City, Yukon area is still very much active today with alluvial miners working the creeks every year. Lots of tourists visit this area also, getting a glimpse of what life and work would have been like over 100 years ago. Like most other gold rushes, this one started with a lucky find. It was in August of 1896 that three prospectors, George Carmack, Skookum Jim and Tagish Charlie, struck gold in Rabbit Creek, which flowed into the Klondike River. The name of the creek was quickly changed to Bonanza Creek, and it proved to be the richest gold-bearing stream the North had ever seen. Gold was literally everywhere. Stories go that you could scoop it out of the creek bed by the handful, and word started spreading fast. But it was the summer of 1897 that really kicked the whole thing off. That summer, two ships, the Excelsior and the Portland, landed in San Francisco and Seattle carrying over a ton of Klondike gold. When reporters shouted the news, it was like striking a match. The gold rush was on. An estimated 100,000 people packed up and set out for the Yukon. These were not just seasoned prospectors. These were farmers, shopkeepers, lawyers, even teenagers. Most had no idea what they were getting into. Of those 100,000 hopefuls, only about 30,000 ever made it all the way to Dawson City. The journey was brutal. Many died on the way. Some fell off icy cliffs, others drowned in rapids, and a great number froze or starved to death. The weather in the Yukon is no joke. Winters are dark and cold. Temperatures hit -50 degrees and stay there for months. Summers are full of endless daylight, but also come with swarms of blood-sucking bugs and black flies. There were no services. When supplies could be found, they cost a fortune. A single egg could sell for $1. That's back when $1 was more than a day's wages. By the time most of the stampede arrived in Dawson City in 1898, all the good ground had been staked. Still, many stayed. Some worked claims for other miners who'd been lucky enough to arrive early. Miners could make $1 to $4 a day. Decent money back then and sometimes enough to start their own prospecting outfit. But it cost around $1,200 just to get there, between passage north and the mandatory year's supply of goods. It was a hard gamble. Before the rush, Dawson was just a tiny camp. Only a couple hundred people lived there in 1896. By 1898, it had exploded into a booming town of about 30,000, almost overnight. There was gold fever in the air and money to be made in more ways than one. For every prospector, there were merchants, gamblers, and scoundrels looking to get rich without lifting a shovel. Entrepreneurs like Joe Ledoux and Arthur Harper made their money selling land and supplies. One standout merchant was Martha Black, who later became Canada's second female member of Parliament. Back then, though, she ran a sawmill and sold goods to miners. The town was full of saloons, dance halls, hotels, and can-can girls who came from all over to entertain and earn. Gambling dens were open all night. Gunfights weren't common, but Dawson had its fair share of shady characters. Gamblers like Texas Jack and Diamond Tooth Gertie were well known. Gertie, who ran her own dance hall, became so legendary she's still celebrated in shows there today. Mining in those early years was all done by hand. Picks, shovels, and sluice boxes were the tools of the trade. But the real trouble was permafrost. Miners had to build fires to thaw the ground just to dig it. It was backbreaking work. Then the dredges came. By the early 1900s, the Klondike was moving into a new era of industrial mining. Dredges, huge floating gold extracting machines, started showing up around 1905. These dredges could chew through frozen ground and work year-round. They ran 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Most were owned by the Yukon Gold Company, a powerful outfit owned by the Guggenheim family. They bought up dozens of claims from individual miners and started processing the creeks on a massive scale. What once took hundreds of men now took just a few operating a machine. It was the end of the frontier-style gold rush and the start of something more corporate. How much gold was mined? The numbers are staggering. Between 1896 and 1903, it's estimated that about 12.5 million ounces of gold were pulled from the Klondike region. That's over 390 metric tons. Some say it was more, some say less, but there's no doubt the Klondike was one of the richest gold strikes ever made. Some creeks became legendary. Bonanza Creek, of course, but also El Dorado, Hunker, Dominion, and Quartz Creek. These names still appear on maps today, and many are still being mined by modern outfits. The ground isn't nearly as rich, but the dream is still alive. Fires were a regular problem in Dawson. The town was made mostly of wood, and with tents, stoves, and lanterns everywhere, it didn't take much to light up the place. One major fire swept through in April 1899, destroying over 100 buildings in the heart of town. But Dawson rebuilt fast. The gold rush spirit wouldn't let it stay down. Famous hotels like the Fairview Hotel and the Savoy sprang up to house the wealthier crowd. The Arctic Brotherhood Hall was a social club but also one of the more iconic buildings in town. Today it houses Diamond Tooth Gertie's casino. Shops like Taylor and Drury provided everything from tools to fancy dresses, and saloons like the Monte Carlo and Green Tree kept glasses full and music playing long into the night. By 1899, though, the rush started to slow. That was the year gold was found in Nome, Alaska. Many stampeders who had barely arrived in Dawson packed up and left again, chasing the next big strike. But Dawson didn't die. It just changed. The Klondike Gold Rush was brief in the grand scheme of things, just a few golden years, but its impact on Canada's history and the myth of the wild North is still felt to this day. And if you stand on the banks of Bonanza Creek in the quiet of an early summer morning, you can almost hear the echo of pickaxes and dreams. Now, as I mentioned at the start of the video, any extra photographs will be shown in a slideshow. I hope you enjoy. One of the ways the stampeders got to Dawson was through the town of Skagway, Alaska. If you haven't watched that video, you can just click the link below or at the end of this video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe. We'll see you all on the next video.